Hello and welcome back to Mads World. I'm your host Mads and I hope you've been enjoying the show so far. If you have, it would mean so much to me if you can remember to subscribe, rate and review the podcast. In this episode, we're discussing long-distance relationships and I'm joined by my gorgeous friend Lexi Holt. Lexi used to work in London at a media agency where we first met through a netball team I played in only twice and now has moved to Amsterdam to go client-side at Adidas where she's been just over a year now. Aside from working in digital marketing, Lexi is also an F45 trainer over there, a dream come true as she lives and breathes the workouts. She enjoys lots of exercise, including boxing, where she was 1 week out of her first white-collar charity match in London in 2020 when COVID came along. Soon to participate in the London Marathon, Lexi loves getting in the mix for any sport imaginable. She's been in a long-distance relationship for just under 2 months, before which she was in isolation with her boyfriend. More to follow in our chat. Hope you enjoy. Hello, Lexi.
Hello, Maxwell.
How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me. This is a dream come true.
Oh, Lexi, you are one of the biggest fans of Mads World, and I am delighted to have you on as a guest in season 4. So let's go straight into our speed date round so everyone listening at home can get a bit of a grasp on who Lexi is. So, what was your most recent Google search?
It's basically a brunch place in Amsterdam called the Avocado Show. So basic.
Avocado brunch. So in Amsterdam, they do like a basic brunch, do they?
They do, and they love it. I think they love brunch more than in London, which is saying something.
I wonder why.
I mean, they don't really have, as much as I know, like a food culture. It's not big, like as opposed to like in Italy and Spain, where they just like are obsessed with good food. But here it's like kind of based on all the other cultures. So I think brunch is kind of like it is in London, like it's just a big thing to get drunk.
Maybe it's a munchies thing. Do people there smoke as much weed as you think it is?
So I think most people are just high when you walk past them. And I just thought they were just kind of like avoiding eye contact. My friend pointed out the other day, like, oh, look how he's so dazed. He's obviously high. And I'm like, oh, I'm so naive. I just forget. I'm like, oh.
I feel like as a tourist, you get this impression that everyone just must smoke weed all the time. But like maybe they're just, it's a bit of a novelty when you first get there. But then it's just a bit like, whatever.
I actually don't know the rules if you have to smoke weed like legally in coffee shops. Like I think so. I remember someone telling me that ages ago, but I do not know.
I mean, you should definitely be finding that out.
Yeah, I think I should maybe do some research.
I've still not been to Amsterdam. Even in my last 4 years in the UK, I've not been, even though it's something I would absolutely love. And everyone is shocked when I say
Honestly,
this.
I nearly fell off my chair when you told me. I'm like you saying. And I was like, oh, well, I'll move there so you can come visit.
Yes, I'll come and visit you very soon.
Yeah.
My most recent Google search was, is ethical non-monogamy possible? Because I've been watching that show on Netflix, Sex/Life, and it is just getting me thinking all about monogamy. Have you watched it yet?
Oh, so I've seen it kind of like on my recommended, but no, I've not. So explain it. What's it about?
It's just about this woman. She's in a rut. She's been married for years, and then she starts thinking about her ex-boyfriend from her 20s and like her partying days. And yeah, it's all about like her journey and stuff and like deciding whether marriage is worth it and like walking the line between chaos and order and that kind of thing. But Lexi, the people on this show are so bloody hot. You would absolutely love it.
Oh, so just watch it for the people, basically.
And the penises. There is this famously huge penis in one scene. It's taken Twitter by storm.
Oh my God, I've just had a flashback. Was it on Gogglebox, which you may or may not watch?
Yes!
Yes. Oh my God, it's penis. It's literally a third leg.
It's honestly a third leg, and apparently it's not a body double. It's a real penis in a real actor. So, and he's Australian, so there you go.
No way. Can you imagine his DMs?
I mean, yeah, flooded.
Oh my God, so many aubergine emojis.
Oh my God.
That bit was literally on Gogglebox, and I kind of zoned out. I wasn't really understanding what the hell's going on. And then I literally paused it. I was like, bloody hell.
Oh yeah, I rewinded it about 10 times in a row. I was sitting there like, this is pathetic, but I'm single and alone and I don't care.
You can appreciate it.
Honestly, you can. Right, our next question is, what is the best thing that's happened to you recently?
So I was having a think about this, and I feel like because of the times, it was when I actually got my second COVID jab. And I know you've had yours for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, the UK has done very well.
It's done so well.
The best thing that's happened to me recently is I went to the British Podcast Awards on Saturday, which was very exciting. So got to plug Mads World to a few big celebs. So told Jamie Lang all about the podcast, Jessie Ware, James Barr.
I'm sure they're listening now as well. Come on the pod.
You know they are. But yeah, that was definitely a massive highlight. And also finding Lewis Capaldi on Tinder.
Honestly, when you put this in the group chat, I honestly was like, no. I think you sent like a screen video of it as well, so you properly showed
the whole profile.
Yeah.
His bio was fatter in real life, so absolute fucking legend. I think he's hot because he's just so funny.
He's basically just saying like, look, I look skinny in photos, so actually just prepare yourself for the real life. Just prepare
yourself. Honestly, he's hot because he's so bloody funny and because he's a great musician, I think. He's got a vibe to him.
He's embracing the post-lockdown bod as well. Like, it's what we all need. Normalise it.
We love to see it. Speaking of fit bachelors, who would you have coupled up with on the most recent season of Love Island?
So I think in terms of looks, Brad is obviously the penguin. He's gorgeous, but he is just a bit of a plank of wood. Like, he has no personality. Although I think he's coming out of his shell a little bit. So I think I'd go for Jake, For Jake,
he's very fun. And him and Liberty, cute couple. Love to see it from them. I think I would couple up with, even though he was only there for 48 hours, it would have to be Chugs. So I just love a posh, fit rugby boy.
Proper Chelsea. Is he from Chelsea? I know he was on Main in Chelsea, so I'm assuming.
Was he? I think he's from Surrey.
Well, yeah, same shit. Very posh.
Yeah, I just love a posh boy, I love a posh rugby boy. There's just something about them.
I'm sure, though, we can get him on the pod.
Oh, I've been trying. Trust me. I've messaged his bucket hat page to get him on the pod, guys. If anyone out there listening knows Chugs, you let me know and we're going to get him on the podcast, okay?
Maybe ask Jamie, because you're such good mates now.
Jamie Lang, so true. Right. Do you have a motto or a quote that you live by?
I think it's really embarrassing. And it's
not
something I've tried to leave in the past, but my Snapchat name, again, this is when I had I still kind of use it every now and then for jokes, but my name is Lexi YOLO on it. So for those that maybe don't know, I don't blame you for not knowing, but YOLO means you only live once.
Love that.
So it's a little bit cringy and it's something I can't really escape because it's there to haunt me forever.
Love that.
But I kind of love it. But also I was thinking of another one, and I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Cinderella Story.
I have, yes.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was really young when I watched it, but I still love the quote. So when Samantha, the mum, when she storms into the diner and she's like, Sam! And then the guitar falls off the wallpaper and it like dramatically rips off the wall.
It
and
rips
then
the wall.
Looks. Yeah, and it says, never let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game.
Oh, and for a sporty girl like you, Lexi, that is exactly what you need to know.
Resonates so much. I mean, I'm just one step away from getting it tattooed on my forehead, I think.
I do love that. And I love that Hilary Duff is one of the only child stars to not absolutely lose their shit. She's just so wholesome. She really wholesome.
Is. I have no idea what she's up to these days.
I think she's married to one of the Good Charlotte boys and they've got a kid and stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Right, our last question is, what is the best thing about being in a relationship?
Yeah, so I think the best thing is kind of like the support system you have with that person.
Yes.
So I think obviously through friends and family you have that, but I think in a relationship it's more like you're all, not always, but most of the time you're on the same page, you understand each other and you kind of just be comfortable with them. Whereas I think maybe like sometimes in friendships and stuff, like I think there's other factors involved, maybe like so like you're upset over something that they don't necessarily understand. But in my experience, at least, like with my boyfriend, we get each other so much.
And it's like having a best friend sometimes. I love when it's like having a best friend. It's so nice.
That's the thing. I think it makes it so easy having that relationship and you can just be yourself.
So speaking of relationships, I have invited you on the podcast because you are in a healthy long distance relationship, which I find very impressive. I had a failed long distance relationship this year. I've had a lot of people reaching out to me with all their questions about long distance relationships. So I thought for story time, you could give us just a brief overview of your relationship and how it works. And then let's go into our left on red question round, which is where we have some questions from listeners all about long distance relationships. So, Lexi, tell me all about your wonderful boyfriend.
Oh gosh, he's going to get such a big head when he listens to
this.
Oh God, I'm going to have to just say, look, one time thing. So basically, so me and my boyfriend, Johnny, we met when we were, okay, so he's the year above me. So I was 17, he was 18. And we were in school together. So we were, I think I was in year 11, he was in year 12. So he was kind of like in sixth form. And then we kind of met through, I mean, you know what it's like at that age, you kind of go to these house parties and everyone's a bit like awkward until you're very, very drunk.
Yes. Yeah.
So it literally was like that. So we would chat, and then we would also be on the same bus to school because we lived so close to each other.
Bless,
but
so
then
cute.
When we were sober, we never really spoke.
Yeah.
So it was literally like that for so long. And anyway, so we kept kind of meeting at parties, and then I think I told one of my friends, like, oh, I think he's like really fit, like,
yeah.
Classic. And then your friend tells him, and then anyway, then
work.
We started chatting. Like, he passed his driving test, which was all very exciting.
Huge.
And he was like, oh, do you want lifts to school and not get the bus? And I was like, yeah.
Amazing.
Oh my God, way to make me look so cool. So it kind of started from there. And then I don't think, like, I honestly knew in my heart of heart this was a chirps by him. I still kind of joke that I made the move. He was like, what would you think I did, like, by offering you lifts? I was like, I don't really know. I didn't really deep at the time.
That was the flirting. The lifts was the flirting.
I was just like, la la la, like, this is a great way to get to school.
Yeah.
Felt so cool arriving in, I think he had a C1, so.
Oh, look out.
I know, skirt.
Skirt.
And then just kind of took a while. We then kind of became a little bit more serious. We went on dates, like, for the first time, I think, ever in my life. Yeah, so he was the year above, and he was applying for unis, and I was doing A-levels and stuff like that. So we were a bit like, maybe it's not the right time to get in a relationship. Like, at the end of the day, no one really knows. I think at that age as well, like, you overthink so much because you're thinking like uni, drinking, shagging, like anything. Like, the world is literally open, and it's probably not the best decision maybe to get into a relationship at that point.
Yep.
Yeah, we were just like, look, we do like each other. So I was like, okay, let's just roll with it. And we actually did have super good summer. Like, we did loads of stuff together.
Yeah.
And we got really, really close. And then he went to uni down south in Reading. And then obviously I stayed up north because I had to do my A-levels. So we kind of did long distance pretty much straight away.
Really?
Yeah. So it was late. We were only together for about like 4 or 5 months before we did long distance.
Do you think that doing long distance before has made an easier process down the line now that you're doing it again?
Yeah. I mean, I think because doing it at a young age, you kind of still, this is my experience anyway, I still could kind of seize opportunities and make decisions on my own. Because I think, for example, some people I know stayed in relationships and they would make kind of sacrifices to stay with that other person who would lead maybe like the geographical location of them both. So let's say one of them wants to stay in Manchester, then they would both stay in Manchester, or, you know, in London, whatever. But because he was doing a course that was only offered in Reading, he sort of had to go there. So I mean, it was just kind of something that we dealt with. I think also because I was in the year below, like sort of school, it was so exciting for me to go and visit uni.
Oh, yeah, because you would have been a high school student going to visit uni.
So I would go down and be like, ooh, like, this is so fun. Like, freshers, what the hell is this? But be able to like go back and like report it to my friends, like, oh my guys.
The gossip at school.
Exactly. I got so drunk at uni, like, oh. So I think it worked okay. Like, obviously it wasn't completely plain sailing. Like, when he was going out for freshers, and sometimes he wouldn't wake up sometimes till like 4 p.m. the next day. And obviously I would have just finished school, like, where the fuck are you? Like,
Is this what led to the downfall?
So then I went to uni in Leeds. So again, like kind of more north, and we were still doing long distance, and we would kind of keep it maybe like every 4 to 6 weeks, we would make a trip either to his and like, or he'd come to me, or we'd meet at home and then spend some time together there. And so we did that for about 3.5 years, and it was great. Like I always say, he was like my best friend. It went so well, and it was so easy.
Yeah, and that's what you want, I think, if it's long distance. The main thing is you want it to be easy above all else, because if you've got that distance between you and you've got that sort of thing that's keeping you apart, you can't be having these petty dramas and stuff that you'd have with a normal boyfriend, because it just doesn't work out, does it?
You do not need any more drama. Like, I wouldn't say I'm a drama queen, like, but if something, I don't know, happens that's outside of my control, I do get a bit emotionally invested. I'm like, oh God, and it just distracts me from day-to-day things.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Like at uni, for example, like if we had a fight, I'd be like so unwilling to concentrate or go to a lecture, because I'd be like, oh, I need to sort this out.
I think you need to be one of those secure attachment kind of people that's like really secure in their relationship, because I think one of the main reasons mine didn't work out is because my anxiety got the better of me, and I was just questioning things all the time. I was always anxious. I was always concerned about what was going on. And I think if you have anything that's going to drive a wedge between you like that, it's just never going to work, is it?
So true. And I think because you guys obviously lived together, you were kind of went from being a 100 to 0, like
exactly. Yeah, we lived together for all of lockdown. We got to know each other that way, and then it just went from that to long distance, which I'd never done before. So I think it was just super hard. So
especially when you don't have like a trial, because it's not like you were together for so long, as in such close proximity for a long time, to then going to
the other end of the spectrum. Yeah, absolutely. So you and your boyfriend had a break between this uni relationship and now, is that correct?
That's correct. So then in my third year, he had finished uni and he'd got a grad job in Manchester, which was like great. He was really happy with it. It's what he wanted to do, and he was pretty set in staying in Manchester. So it was about like November of my third year, and I was just in a massive awful state. So I mean, I lived in like a big uni house, so it was like super fun, but it kind of meant obviously that you're never really alone with your own thoughts, and I just kept pushing off reality. I kept being like, everything's fine, but not really knowing what I wanted to do next, or if I was doing the right, like, I think he expected me to just go to Manchester and kind of get a job there, and then we'd finally end the long distance. But like, I knew I wanted to travel. I knew I wanted to move to London, or at least have a stint there, because I did like an internship the previous year there, and I loved it. Like, Mads and I worked in a media agency together, and that's what I did in the internship. And in London, it's just so much fun.
It's so hard when you're young, because the thought of long distance and sort of anything holding you back is just, it makes me feel a bit claustrophobic. So that's one of the reasons I left Australia and left my boyfriend of 4 years behind there, just because I always envisioned myself living in like a bigger city and exploring who I was, like meeting new people, getting a new job, focusing on my career, all that sort of thing. And when you're young, a relationship just feels as though that it's going to hold you back in that sense. And I mean, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I think, going and getting some independence and living in another city was like one of the best things I ever did. So
oh no, definitely. And I think I had all these thoughts because we've been together for so long. And I think as well, when you're like that age, like 18 to 21, you do, I mean, when I look back on myself, I completely don't recognize, I mean, that's a bit far-fetched, but just in terms of like how I dealt with things, my emotions and stuff, like it's so different to how I do now. Yeah,
you change so much in your 20s. It's such transformative years. I mean, really looking back on how I was even last year, like a year ago, I wasn't even, I didn't even think sobriety was a feasible option or something I would ever even attempt. And now I'm looking back like, and just everything I've achieved in the last 12 months, I'm like, oh my God.
Honestly, I'm so proud of you, Mads. I literally always tell people, I always say, I mean, I hope you don't mind, I always say, so my crazy Aussie friend, that's how I start the intro.
I love it because I am crazy. And the other day I was at the pub with a mate and she was like, oh my God, you don't need to drink. Why are you like this?
Honestly, you have the most amazing energy. Like, honestly, I don't know how you do it. And honestly, like, it's incredible. I always say like, so my friend, my crazy Aussie friend, she took a huge U-turn in lockdown, because it's true. Like in lockdown, I think there was like some crazy statistics where people's alcohol consumption, like people just didn't know what to do, essentially.
Honestly,
but
yeah.
you went the opposite way. Like you decided to take control, and
I mean, the thing is, I went that way up until a certain point, but it got so bad that I was drinking so much, so I had to kind of go down before I could go up, or like you know, walk before I could run, type thing. I don't know how to put it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's incredible that you've literally gone now like cold turkey.
I mean, I have had a couple of relapses. I want to be open with the listeners. I've had a couple of relapses in the last few weeks, but I am doing an episode on it very soon, and I am fully committed to being back on the wagon, so no need to fret.
Yeah, well, I think it's, what do they say? Like, it's not...
Oh, sobriety's not linear, or healing's not linear. Yeah. I read a really nice quote the other day as well that was talking about how anything like whether it's sobriety or whether it's healing from a breakup or, you know, moving on from grief or whatever, or losing your job, it's like a wave. So the tide comes in, and it comes in quite far, and then it goes out a little bit, and then it comes in again, and it comes in even further.
True.
And then it goes out, and then it comes all the way in. So it's like sometimes your tide might be going in, and then it gets sucked back out, and you feel a bit anxious, and then it goes all the way in again. So I think it's just like a rolling tide, you know, and you have to ride the wave. Ride the wave.
Ride that wave. Ride that wave.
Anyway, we digress.
So true.
Let's continue with your lovely story. Oh my God, I knew this was going to happen on this
We do chat, don't we, so much. Okay, yeah. So in third year, like I said, I suffered to kind of think about the long term and what I wanted. And I think also I'm kind of, and I still am, that kind of people pleasing person, and I'm working on it, but it's more like, and I do, like, obviously I love him, and I did then as well, and I was always trying to like consider his feelings, but at the end of the day, you do need to put yourself first
as a young person. Definitely.
Like at that age, like you can't kind of give in to what someone might want of you, because at the end of the day, you're only going to regret that, and maybe resent them, which we did. So eventually we had a couple of conversations, but it was mostly on the phone, which wasn't nice. And then we would then meet up, and I kind of told him all my thoughts. I struggled at that time also to be kind of honest, because I think, and also understanding what you're thinking or coming to terms with it at that age, I think it wasn't like a natural.
And even to be able to comprehend how you're feeling at that age, because I feel like for a long time, until I started this podcast, which has helped me so much, I haven't been able to articulate how I'm feeling. I know how I feel, but you feel like if you say it out loud, it makes it real, or if you say it out loud, people might be like, what the hell is wrong with you? But I mean, the thing I'm learning about doing this podcast is, and everyone coming on with all their different stories, is like the power of authenticity, and just like people opening their mouths and sharing these weird stories, and just the amount of people that come to me and say, oh, I feel the exact same way. I can't believe that other people feel like this. And I think it's such a powerful thing once you realize you can share these stories, and everyone can connect over them.
Yeah, you makes you realize people are in the same position all the time, but like you might not ever articulate it with someone, but they might be thinking it, and you might not have the opportunity to voice it.
So you had to have those difficult conversations with him back then.
We had those conversations, and it was difficult as well, because it's kind of like we built up this whole 3.5 years, and we were looking forward to the future. But I just knew in my heart of heart, like if I didn't do the traveling I wanted to do, and if I didn't move to London and get the job I wanted to do and have that experience, then I would regret it. And
and you don't want to resent the person either for holding you back. And I think that's part of the reason why my ex broke up with me once he was in Leeds. I think it's just not wanting to feel, because you love the person and you don't want to feel any sort of hatred or, you know, long-term resentment against them if you felt like they were holding you back in a certain way, even if it wasn't completely true. And there's obviously always more to the story, but I think that's completely understandable, and that's why I left Australia. So, you know, you can appreciate all of those things, definitely.
And I think if he was feeling like that, then I would of course be like, I do not want to get in your way of you doing certain things that you want to do. So I think it's like a kind of comes down to like respect as well. So we had that conversation, and it was really hard. Like it was so tough, and you kind of feel like you've lost half of you, but you know in the future it's the best thing for you both. But it was super hard, and it was hard for like I would say like half a year. And then when I went traveling, I think maybe, I mean, it's not like you leaving Australia, but it's kind of similar in the sense, like, I literally booked, it was a one-way flight at the time.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of was like, oh, I'll make it up. But I went to Peru, and then I did like the classic, it wasn't a gap year, it was a gap month, gap 3 months. And I did like some volunteering, and I just I put myself in, and I just put myself into this whole new environment. And I think that made me so much braver and like more courageous, and I kind of was forced to put myself out of my comfort zone and not think about what I was going through, and just kind of look at the present situation and focus on enjoying myself at that moment. And I think that was probably the best thing I did, and just worked on being independent.
Yeah, and you kind of get it all out of your system as well, because I think you sort of feel this itch or a sense of claustrophobia when you're in your hometown and you want to get out there and see the world, and you feel a bit trapped and all these things. I think everyone can sort of relate to those feelings. And once you do it, you're sort of like, okay, like this is definitely the right choice. I don't think anyone ever regrets going traveling or, you know, finding their own independence.
Exactly. Like, it might scare you, like at the end of the day, it's stepping out your comfort zone, and from what you know, like you might get a bit fearful, but I think it honestly shapes you as a person, and like you learn so much about yourself, and you have like, experiences, and I do think it was really good. And coming back to the relationship, we were always friends. Like we never fell out. It was nothing that he or I did. It was just simply like we had other things to fulfill before we properly settle down.
For sure. And I guess that makes it easier as well when you sort of know that there is a future, because one of the hardest parts about breaking up is sort of thinking, oh my God, I'm never going to see this person again. They're not going to be in my life, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's definitely helps with the process if you know that there's a place for them in your life, but it's just the wrong time.
It's just the wrong time, exactly. And I think we were still friends, like we still had mutual friends as well. Like there was no animosity there. It wasn't, I mean, we did give each other space and kind of left it as that, but we still would be there for one another. Like I think we still chatted every now and then. We had random phone calls just to catch up. But then I then moved to London not long after I got back. And he obviously was in Manchester. And then whenever he would come to visit London, we would meet up. And I remember kind of at our media agency, I think you knew some of my teammates. And I remember saying to some of them, like, oh, I'm just going to dinner with my ex tonight. And they were like double took, and they were like, what? You're doing what? And I was like, oh no, it's not like that. Like, we're still friends. And they just could not understand.
Yeah, for some people it's hard to comprehend. I think because I think if it's an amicable breakup, it's so much easier. But in that sense, it can be harder as well, because it means that you might not, you know, get over those feelings and stuff that you have for them unless you completely cut them off. Because I think at the moment I couldn't be friends with my ex. I would find it way too challenging.
Yeah, I do agree. Like, obviously some people and some relationships, just you can't really salvage anything after. No, and completely understand that. Yeah, so it was like literally 3 years, and then lo and behold, lockdown came. And I left London pretty much straight away. Like, I left in March 2020. And like, obviously everything was just going a bit tits up then, as it was back in the day. And
oh my God,
so I came back home, which is Cheshire. Good old Cheshire, which is like south of Manchester. Stunning, yes. And you still need to visit, by the way.
I still need to visit, but not while you're in Amsterdam.
I know. We're going to have to time it a little bit better. So I went home, and so he lives not too far away. Like, he has his own flat. So we were meeting up for walks, as you do.
As you do. And if you're stuck in lockdown as well, I feel like lockdown made everyone text their ex. I'm sorry, honestly, but it is true. I texted my ex. We were on the phone. It was a whole big thing. It was just not fine.
Oh my God. You never told me this.
No, I don't want to talk about it. This is about you, Lexi, okay?
Damn it.
Oh, Christ. So you're seeing your ex in lockdown because you live close by.
We literally met up, and I think we probably met up like maybe a handful of times. And I think it was just like, as I said before, like, it's so easy company. Like, I literally see him as a friend. And I remember even when I was taking this job that I have now, like, I rang him straight away as I got the offer. Like, oh my gosh, what do you think I should do? Should I go to Amsterdam, like leave the country, blah, blah, blah. And he honestly was like, look, I know how much this means to you. I know how much you've wanted it, how hard you've worked. He was like the person who kind of could see kind of black and white, like, look, yes, like obviously you wouldn't turn this down. Nah. So yeah, that was just kind of like the friendship we had. And then, I mean, this is classic as well. Like you said, classic to text your ex, but also classic for, I think he invited me round and then one
and
thing
then
led to
push
another.
led to shove. Yeah.
Speeding leads to forking and all that shebang. And then, yeah, it was literally that for a good while. I was kind of traveling to Amsterdam, but I didn't move here for a while. And so it meant that we could see each other and spend more time with each other because I still hadn't moved to Amsterdam whilst like COVID was still a thing. So it meant that we were literally doing like this whole kind of seeing each other thing for about 6 months, but it never really stuck to us to think about it too much. We just were enjoying it. And I think we always knew I was going to move, but we never really breached that conversation.
Yeah, the conversation is the hardest part.
Yeah.
But I remember when my ex and I were together, we sort of I don't know, we avoided the conversation and then we had to have that hard conversation. I know Leeds isn't that far away from London, but it is still long distance when you go from living together to living, you know, so like far, cities apart. So the conversation is so hard and it's a bit awkward because you don't really know like how serious this is, like if they see it long term. It's just,
and you don't want to bring it up. Like, so what do you think? Like, it's just, and I think we always just kind of agreed it would never be anything. And like, we were just like, man, like it's just a bit of fun. And yeah, the feelings were caught.
The feelings were caught.
The feelings were definitely caught. No flights were, so the feelings had to be. And so annoying. And I remember, like, I think it was like maybe a week before I was officially moving like into my new flat in Amsterdam. And I was like, oh gosh, so like I'm going. And it was literally that. I was just like, okay, and I got into the mindset where I was like, all right, I'm going to get on that plane. I'm going to leave this behind. I'm going to start a new chapter, blah, 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 blah. I think like strong, independent woman. I don't need a man. Classic. And it was literally the case where I got here, and he will hate me saying this, but this is true. He'll deny it. Because he hates me making out like he's a soppy monster. So I think it was within like 2 days. And I was just kind of like settling in. And then he was like, look, I don't think we should drop this. Like, I think what we've had is like honestly, so good. And like, I know you're obviously in Amsterdam and I'm here, but, and do you know what we did? It was so funny when we think back on it. We arranged to have like a really adult conversation. It was really adult-like. We proposed it like a business meeting. We were like, right, Friday, 6 o'clock, like FaceTime, meet you there, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. We basically discussed our like 5 and 10 year plan. And we would say like, look, what do we want? Like, because obviously we've done it before and it didn't necessarily
You've been through this before. So it's sort of like, you're seasoned veterans at this point.
Yeah, we honestly are. That's so true. We're pros at this, but then not really because we had a hiatus. But yeah, I mean, we should be good at this now. Like we know what works, what doesn't. But we thought like, if we're going to try this again, I think we need to give it a better go. And I think the last time we did it, we didn't really have a choice. We kind of just went with it. But I think now it was kind of good because we could just assess it without having any expectations or anything like that. And we literally just we would like, I made a list of things, like he made a list of things, and we were just talking like, look, do you eventually like, would you, because also I forgot to mention before, but we were isolating together in lockdown, so we spent like 5 months together, and that was before I then moved back to Amsterdam.
So it was pretty serious. And I think, you know what, I actually think the business meeting, this is a huge learning from this call. I think if anyone is looking to do long distance, I think sitting down, making lists, like making a plan. But this was one of the questions that someone asked is, do you need to look forward to the future in order to make it work? And to be honest, I think you do. Like, I think you need to see a light at the end of the tunnel, because realistically, a long distance relationship, you don't want that for your entire life. You know, you have to sort of see an endpoint where you can coexist together, and like, you want to be around the person you love. You know, that's just a fact at the end of the day. So I think that's the most sensible thing ever, having this adult conversation. I love this.
Honestly, like we talk about it now and we're like, oh my gosh, that was so mature. Honestly, the most mature thing. Like it was definitely him leading that conversation, and I was just blindly following like, oh, okay, good idea. But yeah, like you said, I think it was really good because it's kind of preventing us from kind of discovering anything down the line and just being like, okay, well, that was a catastrophic waste of time.
Absolutely,
but we're kind of looking at it like pragmatically and being like, look, do you want this, like in 5 years, what do you want to be doing? Like, do you see me in that time frame, blah 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 blah.
God, I wish you could have this conversation on a first date, but it would be so intense. But imagine how much you'd save so much time.
Honestly, you would. That's such a good idea. Imagine if you literally just turn up to a first date like, look,
with a quiz.
Yeah.
So, do you want kids? How many? Like,
I think I've seen people on first dates actually do that, and then they definitely run a mile.
It is a bit psycho behavior.
It is a little bit.
So, just getting to the end of the story, post mature discussion, what was the decision, and what is your current status at the moment?
Yeah, so that was literally when I moved like into my flat in Amsterdam. So that was about October. And I said, well, okay, I mean, everything was also closed here at that time. So we could just, I mean, it's not like I was going out. It's not like, but I mean, we could just concentrate on speaking to one another. Like it wasn't really like life was still going on. So we chatted a lot and we discussed it. Like I don't think we put a label on it straight away, but we were also considering like, it's a huge thing telling your family and friends as well, because like obviously none of us want this heartache again that we had the first time. And I think going back to your ex as well, like that has a lot of stigma and
it has a lot of things attached
questions
to it.
attached to it, of course. Like, and not all of my friends even knew that we were seeing each other. So some of them were like, what? And the same with his friends, like he kept it really quiet.
Yeah.
And I think also that was quite nice because it didn't mean anyone was interfering too early.
Yeah.
But like I remember when he decided to tell his family, because obviously he was with them and I was here, so I kind of held off from telling mine too soon. But I remember he was like, I saw my mum and dad, and I told them, and they were really happy. Like, and that was really nice as well, because I think a bigger thing about going, well, one, back to your ex and obviously doing long distance as well, is knowing that your family and friends support it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you go back to your ex, as you said, there is a huge stigma with it. But I think it comes from a place of concern from your friends, because they've seen you on the bathroom floor crying. They've heard all the bad things that you've said about them. They've said bad things about them. It's sort of like, especially when you tell your mum and your mum's like, oh, I never liked him anyway.
Oh my God,
that kind
so
of thing.
True.
And then you get back with someone and they're sort of like, is this a good idea? Like, are you sure you're doing the right thing? And it comes from a place of concern, but it is bloody anxiety inducing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so true. And it's so hard to change someone's opinion of you if like, for example, you've hurt the person that they're closest with, which I completely understand. Like, I think that was one of the major things that we were scared of. It's just that I was like, God, what about your parents? Like, I love them, but obviously when you upset like your son or whatever, like it's hard to be welcomed back to the fold. But no, he was like so happy about it because he's got 2 older sisters and we really get along together. And they were super happy. And they, obviously, the first things they say are like, oh my God, but she's just moved to Amsterdam. Like, and that's basically it, I guess. We're in a really good place at the moment.
Lexi, I'm so happy for you. Honestly, I think, and I do think if anyone out there listening is hoping to do long distance, I really do think that story is going to help, because it it gives so much context. And up next is our Left on Red question round, which is aptly named so because being left on red makes you question everything about your life, your universe, yourself. And I think a great question to start with on such a positive story is, what is the best thing about long distance?
I think just knowing that you have someone to talk to at the end of the day, like just need someone to talk to. I can literally phone him, FaceTime him, and he'll make me laugh, like forget about if I'm stressed. And it's almost just having that person not in that tense environment in your head or even in your company at that time. Like you can literally just forget it and just kind of I use him as literally like a therapy session.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, when I was in my short-lived long distance relationship this year, I think having more time to yourself, even though you still have that support network, is huge. And I think having more time to like read the books you want to read and catch up with your friends and like build those support networks as well. Even if, down the line you were to end up physically being with that person rather than doing long distance, I think it's so important, because it also helps with when you do go through something like a breakup, you sort of built up those support networks and the strength to be on your own.
Yeah.
And I think as well, another thing is getting to sort of live in two places. I mean, I used to love going up to Leeds. It's just like something to do. I love the train. Like,
So
I mean,
true.
you can come back to Manchester, have a flat. He can visit Amsterdam. It's such a touch.
So true, actually. Yeah, I didn't think of that one. That's such a good one, because I know he's not been able to visit for obvious reasons. I think when he's fully vaccinated, he can. So yeah, hopefully soon. But I'm already like making a list of what we can do, like things we can see. And yeah, I'm just excited to like show him what I've been doing like here and people I've met. So I think that's a huge one. Yeah, you're definitely right.
Yeah, add those positives to your arsenal now. You've got those.
I've
Another
got
thing to look forward to.
Hopefully more than like the worst things that come with it.
This is my next question. What do you think the worst thing is about long distance? And I think some of these are quite obvious, but what would you say?
I guess it's just like the physical proximity that you get. Like, obviously hugs. Like, I think I wouldn't say like, I am like a hugger, but I'm not necessarily tactile. Like, I'm not necessarily like hold my hand in public. I'm not that person.
A huge PDA kind of gal.
No, I'm not that person. So that I don't necessarily miss. But just even like coming back or like coming in from work and just being like, oh, hug me. Or like just being like cute and cozy together. Like, I miss that. But I think it just makes you appreciate it a little bit more. So definitely of like a positive from a negative. I think like the next time I see him is hopefully going to be in Mallorca.
Amazing.
Yeah, because it's like a green country for us both. So we're going to meet there, and like with all my fam as well. I'll pull him.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder when, especially physically. Exactly. Literally, I'd get to Leeds and we'd rip each other's clothes off. Yeah. Like, you just like absolutely love it. So
true, yeah, because you're literally just like, oh my gosh, I am so happy to see you. And I think maybe that people maybe take advantage of the close proximity they have with someone. So I think if you have a little bit of absence from them, you're literally like, oh, I love you so much.
Absolutely. So the next question is, how do you manage a breakup when doing long distance? So I know you sort of touched on this before, but I guess is there any tips? I mean, all I can think of in this is try your best to see the person in real life and get proper closure. I mean, it's so difficult, especially with Amsterdam and England. But I mean, if you're just in other cities in the UK, I would just say try your very best. Like, mine ended in person. It was so much healthier. You could actually have a proper hug. You could say everything you need to say, and then you sort of, that's goodbye. And it's devastating and it's super hard, but I would say, and if at the very least it has to be a phone call. Like,
God, I just think there's just no easy way. Like, I think texting is just cold. Like, I know people sort of do, I just don't think there's any kind of situation where that's right. I think especially like in a long distance relationship, you're so right. I think it's hard when you're not happy within it, and it's hard to kind of wait until, because the worst thing as well, like if you have a time and a date where you're next seeing this person and you know in your head that that's not going to be a happy time because you're going to
or it's going to be the last time that you see them. It's going to be the last
time, and then maybe let's say like they're going out their way to make this trip work, like you're meeting somewhere like mutual, and that's an awful way to end things. But I think, like you said, like they deserve closure, and I think texting is an easy way out. I think a phone call, I mean, it's kind of not great, but it's not the worst.
Long distance, it can be sometimes the only choice. But I mean, at least in this day and age, make it at least a video call.
At least give them a little FaceTime,
just a little Microsoft Teams,
with loads of emojis.
My God! Our next question is: how do you think people know if long distance is right for them, and when do you think it's the wrong decision? So I would say for this one, in terms of it being the wrong decision, it's when your futures do not align and your plans do not align, because what's the point? You know, if it's not going to lead anywhere concrete, to me, I'm like, it's a waste of time and it's going to end in heartbreak.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of, I mean, the fact that we spoke about like what we did and didn't want in the next few years, like
the adult chat, we loved it. The adult
chat, yes, guys, you heard it here first, we coined it here first. But I think, like at the end of the day, if you don't want the same things, or you're getting your wires crossed and you don't necessarily align, like I feel like you will find that out later in time, and you might just be like, okay, well, that was just a waste of time, and something you might have been able to avoid earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say also that I think when I look back at, like, I think I touched on it before, but I think when you're older, you do have like a bit more maturity when you come to a relationship. So, for example, like I think you said before, like you do need to have like a bit of kind of what did you said it before, like,
oh, you have to have a secure attachment type.
yeah, like I think, like if I look back at how we were together in uni, like maybe I would get upset if he didn't message me when he was going out, or like if he was out with like those people which I didn't know or hadn't met before, then I would get kind of in my own head like, what's he doing, what's he saying, who's he with?
Yes.
But now I think I just have one, more maturity, and two, maybe a bit more trust. Like, not that I didn't trust him, but I think when you're in uni and you're with loads of random new people, like you never know what's going to happen.
It's hard.
Like, yeah, because you don't necessarily trust them, but you might trust your boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever.
And sometimes you might not even like trust yourself in those situations in uni because there's alcohol involved and people make mistakes and everyone's young and everyone's figuring their lives out. I think the key to everything is, for long distance especially, is to have that solid friendship foundation first, which is why yours was very successful, I think, because if you have that basic level of respect and friendship, I think it's so much less likely that people are going to cheat, just because you already have that understanding and just human respect for the person. Whereas I've had boyfriends in the past where we weren't friends first and it's always ended terribly with cheating or whatever it might be. So I think the trust and the maturity is definitely the two keys here. And the adult conversation, that is the biggest learning I've had from this podcast.
I love that. I love how I'm spreading the wise lessons.
I love it so much.
I hope they come in use.
I've got two more questions. Do you think it's all worth it?
Yeah, I mean, I hope it will be worth it. I guess we'll see. But no, I think, like, in my heart of heart, I think we are really good together. At least, like, I think so. He might say something different. But I think what we built is, again, like, really secure, and like, I think he makes me like the better version of myself, which I think at the end of the day is why sometimes you are with that person.
Definitely. And you like who you are around them.
Yeah. And like be a little cheerleader. And like I think he's way above his years. Like, he's very, very mature.
Yeah.
And he dishes out like all the advice, like even career advice, like he knows what to say and like what to suggest. And I think that as well, like friendship, a relationship, like
the support
kind of, he kind of like brings it all to the table. So I think I think I see it as like, it's better to have him in my life than to not, and like not have this type of security that he gives. And I think it has been really nice. And I think I've been quite lucky that it has been this kind of.
Do you know what? At the end of the day, I think as well, in the big pie of life, and I always say this, there's, if you imagine life as a pie or a piece of cake, you've got the career slice, the family slice, the friend slice, hobbies, job, there's everything in this massive circle. And if the things that you want to achieve in your life, whether it's traveling or career or friendship or adventure, all of the things that you're doing, living your best life in Amsterdam, the things I'm doing, living my best life in London, those things, they make up more of the pie than just one, which is relationship. And I think you still have that strong support network, and you can come back to it. And if it's strong, like, it will work out, I think you have to respect all of the other pieces of the cake,
Oh, love that. Yeah, I think you should definitely not neglect any of the slice of cake, have all the cake. But just
you can have your cake and eat it too.
Oh my gosh. I don't think that's always the correct way we've heard that one, but I like it in this metaphor. It's great. I love that.
And this leads me to my last question, is what tips do you have for people wanting to try long distance? So I think it is just like trust and respect and acknowledgement of the other person in that relationship having their own life. But some other suggestions that I would have is have like a time of day or a time every few days that you like call each other, and make sure you don't miss that call, just like to make sure that you're like staying in touch with each other's lives. And then I would never, this is just based on my own personal experience, but I would never leave the person physically and not have planned the next time that you're going to see each other, because I have heard from people that you can let the time slip by and then suddenly it's been months and you've not actually planned the next time that you're going to be together, and it can be quite hard. But what would you say for this one? What tips would you have?
Yeah, I think that last point that you made, knowing when you're next going to see each other, because it'll give you some sort of hope. And Also because I think, well, COVID obviously massive kind of block. But we know, or hopefully we will be in Mallorca, so we've like made a whole like bunch of stuff we want to do whilst we're there, and we're just gonna hopefully really cherish that time together. And then I know, for example, in August, I'll be going back to the UK for a bit because I have his sister's wedding. So it's just like little things like that. Like I know it might be hard. Like we do say, like at the end of each phone call, like we miss each other, but we're like, oh, look, we've done most of it now. It's just like a little bit longer. So we're like, we can say like, okay, we've done 6 weeks. We just have to half that and then do it again. Yeah. And it's like little things like that. But I think, again, like you said, having like a time of day where you speak to each other, like it's basically the case we always speak after work, or if he or and I do something after work, like go to the gym or whatever, we'll just speak before bed, even if it's like 5 minutes, because I'm the hour ahead here, so and I love an early bedtime, so I'm such a loser. But it might be like the case he's only just got back from wherever, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to bed, but he's like, oh, I just want to wish you good night, and it will literally be that. So we'll say, okay, well, let's catch up properly tomorrow, but I'm going to bed, and it'll just be like that. So you'll just hear their voice. Like,
and you just have that presence in each other's lives. I think that's the most important thing. Is just you know, being enthusiastic about both wanting to have a place in each other's lives. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, like you said, like keeping them involved. It's quite funny because so I have a twin brother, as you know, and he
I've slid into his DMs.
You have, I think multiple times, not just once. I think that means Mads must fancy me as well, guys. So
I mean, it does.
It's basically me with her, but it's the case. Like he is literally so protective of me. He's like my dad, but Johnny is the only boy he's ever warmed to, and it's so cute. Aww. Like since I've been here, they've been hanging out. They go for beer together. They go for dinner. Yeah, like oh my god, my brother went round to his to watch Love Island the other night.
Stop it.
It's so
that
cute.
Is too precious.
I know. So I'm like, oh, like this is literally all I want. Like an easy.
That's all you want in life.
Easy going. Like I don't have to worry about him beating him up or anything like that. So it's really nice.
Oh, well, Lexi, it's been so great to have you on the podcast, and I hope this podcast helps anyone out there who is looking to do long distance or considering it, or it's being thrust upon them unexpectedly. But you've been an amazing guest, and I hope that you were so excited to be a guest.
Oh, you've literally made my life. I can't wait for it to air. Oh, I'm going to feel famous.
Thanks again, Lex. Love you.
Thank you. Love you, Mads. Bye. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed my chat with the lovely Lexi. Please let me know on my Instagram. It's @madsworld.mp3 or on my website, madsworld.co, if you have any stories or thoughts of your own to share about the podcast. Love and elbow taps. Peace.